Terminal count.
Overlook Horizon High Altitude Balloons, an Ontario County nonprofit.
This is no ordinary balloon.
What a view!
Over 110,000 feet.
This is incredible.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, launch.
Hey guys, good morning everybody. Tori here from Overlook Horizon coming to you live here in Rochester, New York on this fine Saturday morning, nice and early here for the Atlas V launch of the InSight Mars mission. We're sending a lander to Mars here today. So everything so far is good to go here. Welcome here. I'm glad everybody's joining me here this morning. Hopefully everybody had a good day yesterday. May the 4th be with you for yesterday's fans. Obviously we're on the 5th now here today, but yeah, so we're getting started here. I see the broadcast for ULA is actually getting started here, which I'll put up in the corner. I'm not actually going to switch over to it live yet, but I'll throw it up here in the corner so at least you can see it. We'll talk for a minute, then we'll switch over to it. We'll hear what they've got to say. But it is looking pretty foggy over at Vandenberg this morning. The 30th Space Wing said 20% chance of visibility being acceptable for this flight. However, not to be too worried though. In the mission briefing or the launch readiness briefings yesterday or the day before, the 30th Space Wing basically said that they were prepared to waive that visibility requirement if all the other safety protocols and features of the vehicle and everything else was in working order. They were prepared to waive the visibility condition, so we may be launching in fog anyways, even though they said 20% chance of it being I think it was 20% chance of it being ideal conditions, not acceptable conditions, because apparently they're going to be, there's a potential for it to be acceptable even with this fog happening this morning out there in Vandenberg, which is a pretty commonplace, a pretty common occurrence out there. So Mark Powell says it's revenge of the 5th day. I like that. I don't know if I'm sure I've heard that at some point, but anyways, so let's see, where was I? So let's talk about what we're launching today. So this is Mars InSight, or InSight Mars. I'm not sure which it is, but it's InSight. InSight is the name of the mission, which is the lander that we are sending. The lander that we're sending to Mars today on an interplanetary mission. This is the first interplanetary mission going off from Vandenberg Air Force Base. I mean, typically you would see an interplanetary mission would go from Cape Canaveral. Most of the time it's slightly more efficient to launch from Cape Canaveral, get yourself into an equatorial orbit, and then transfer to your destination planet. This morning though, we're in a 63-degree orbital inclination at launch time, which is a lot closer to a polar orbit than it is an equatorial orbit. But it's not really that big of a deal today because this InSight lander is pretty small. It's a pretty tiny little vehicle, and overall the loss in performance or the loss in efficiency that you would see by not having that equatorial orbit is pretty minimal. It's only like 2% of the overall mission fuel efficiency, so to speak. So it's not really that big of a deal, but it is kind of unusual that we have this this almost polar orbit before we send a vehicle to Mars. And so the InSight lander here, this is a stationary lander. So this is not like the Curiosity rover where it's going to move around. This guy is going to land and it's going to be stationary. It has the two primary items that it has on board is a seismometer, and they're going to be measuring potentially Mars quakes. So it's got that, and that's that little guy sitting out front there on the ground. And then they also have, let me see, I got another picture here somewhere. Maybe I don't. Thought I had another picture. I know, but they also have temperature probes. They're going to actually be drilling down into the crust basically and trying to measure the temperature. They're going to be seeing, you know, what the heat loss is from the planet to try to figure out what the makeup and the composition of Mars is. You know, what kind of core does it have, and all that kind of good stuff. So so a lot of interesting things that we haven't measured before on Mars happening with InSight in this tiny little craft. And I say tiny because we're launching today on an Atlas 401 configuration. So Atlas is, if you see an Atlas 5 rocket launch, they generally will have a 3-digit configuration that they reference. Today's configuration is a 401 configuration. 4 meaning that this is a 4-meter payload, 4-meter diameter payload fairing, which is the smaller of the two payload fairings that they can use. They have a 4-meter and a 5-meter. This is a 401, so this is the 4-meter payload fairing. The 0 meaning that we have 0 solid rocket boosters on this guy. So that right there is an indication of how small this really is. I mean, we're doing an interplanetary mission with 0 solid rocket boosters that they're just not needed. And that's even with the almost polar orbit that we're going to have at launch time. So we've got a almost polar orbit and still don't need any solid rocket boosters. I mean, this Atlas V has a lot more capability. You know, the Atlas V that I watched down in Florida last month was a 551, meaning it was the 5-meter payload fairing, 5 solid rocket boosters strapped onto this guy. And then the 1 for that 551 and also for today's 401, the 1 is just referencing the upper Centaur engine. The upper stage has the capability of having 2 Centaur engines on the upper or second stage. I don't know if they've ever launched, I don't think they've launched with 2 so far, with 2 engines on the upper stage, although I think I believe it is planned. I forget what mission, I was pretty sure I read, but I can't remember what mission. I've read so many, but I think there is a mission coming up where they'll have 2 Centaur engines, but don't quote me on that. Maybe I could be making that up. But it does have the capability to support 2 Centaur engines on the upper stage. So, but today we're 401, so 4-meter diameter payload fairing, 0 solid rocket boosters, and the 1 Centaur engine, which is basically the smallest configuration that Atlas V can have here. So so this is the smallest configuration, and we're still going into an almost polar orbit and transferring this to another planet. And I know if you're looking at my diagram here, I know it says the Maven spacecraft. I tried to find one for the InSight, but I, for the life of me, could not find the 401 configuration with the InSight shown on there. So I don't know why. So we get Maven. So it's reused. Anyways, so let's see. What else do we want to show for today? So here we kind of talked about this a little bit. So this is that orbital inclination that I was talking about, that we're at like 60, what is it, 63 degrees, I think is our, yeah, 63.4 degrees is our inclination, which basically this thing is going, way south, and it's going to end up coming all the way up to 63 degrees north latitude there, like 63 degrees both north and south there. So this is a huge swing in terms of north-south. You know, normally, like I said, you'd see an equatorial orbit before you transfer, but it's not really necessary in the grand scheme of things. Our little, you know, polar, even if you go into a polar orbit, I mean, eventually we're transferring out to another planet, so not a huge deal here for that. But it is interesting because this is the first one that we've done from Vandenberg, and it doesn't happen that often. So it is of interest. And then there's the question, why are we launching from Vandenberg? Why not just launch it from Cape Canaveral? Well, really, it just came down to launch site availability. I mean, Cape Canaveral is seeing more and more launches every single week, and every year they're getting more and more. the Vandenberg site just had more availability, so they opted to go with the Vandenberg site and just go with this this huge orbital inclination here. And that's really all it was, is just launch site availability. You know, SpaceX now is they're firing off rockets left and right. You know, you had the test mission, you got Banga Bandhu that's coming up on was scheduled for Monday. Still, it sounded like there was a chance maybe they might move that launch time, but we're still waiting to see if we're waiting for SpaceX to confirm the actual launch date. But that'll go off hopefully Monday. If not Monday, then probably, you know, Tuesday or shortly thereafter sometime. Let's see. So that's what our initial orbital inclination looks like, and then let's look at our timeline for today. And I'm going to switch over to this broadcast here in about 5 or 6 minutes. So this is what our timeline is for today for the launch sequence. So this is ULA is very precise about their mission timelines, which I love. I love precision. But ignition happens at T-minus 2.7. Liftoff is actually going to happen at 1.1 seconds. They begin their pitch and yaw maneuver about 17.1 seconds. Hit Mach 1 at 1 minute, 17.8 seconds. We're even getting into the decimals here. Even well after launch. Max Q is at 126.9. We have the first cutoff, the Atlas booster engine cutoff, or BECO. That's at 4 minutes and 4.3 seconds. We have the Centaur separation, 4:10. Then the Centaur engine is going to start up. We got payload fairing jettison. Centaur engine is going to cut off. That'll be MECO 1. Then we get the second main engine start, and then we'll have a second engine cut off. That's MECO 2. InSight will get separated, and then we also have today these two small CubeSats called Marco A and Marco B. These little CubeSats are going to get separated, completely separate of the InSight craft itself. So it will not travel with InSight, not exactly. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, it's pretty much traveling with InSight. But I mean, a lot of times, if you're sending like these secondary payloads, I forget. I think on Phoenix, maybe they had. Maybe I don't know if they were CubeSats or something, some sort of secondary payload, but they rode with the actual spacecraft all the way to Mars. These CubeSats are riding by themselves, so InSight will be separated, will be on its way, and then the CubeSats are going to be separated after that on their own, and so they will travel on their own in a different path, slightly different path to Mars by themselves, and their mission is really twofold. I mean, one, they're testing the durability of these CubeSats to do long duration space missions and interplanetary missions, and they're also testing they're going to use the CubeSats as a communications relay while InSight is in its EDL phase, which is entry, descent, and landing. So while InSight is landing, which we're seeing here, the CubeSats are going to relay communications, and they're going to be a little bit closer to the actual spacecraft, to the InSight spacecraft while it's landing, so they can hopefully get some better measurements and better communication with the craft as it's doing its landing phase there. So we've got those CubeSats, and those are separated about an hour and a half after launch today. But the thing I love, so I mentioned about the precision of ULA, where the Marco A separation is happening at 1 hour, 33 minutes, 53.8 seconds. We're an hour and 33 minutes into the flight, and they still are specifying that this is 53.8 seconds. Not 53 seconds, 53.8 seconds. I love it. You gotta love the precision there. So let's see. Deborah says, how long until it lands on Mars? So this is expected to reach Mars. If it launches today, we're reaching Mars right around Thanksgiving time. So it's about a 6-month transit to Mars. And I think, I don't remember, I saw the exact day, but the exact day was either Black Friday or Cyber Monday. So the Friday after Thanksgiving or the Monday after Thanksgiving. I don't remember which one it was. It was one of those crazy shopping days. So we should be, right around Thanksgiving is when they're expecting to reach Mars. And then they're going right to landing. So so that should be right around there. So come Thanksgiving time, keep an eye out for InSight. We'll hopefully have a landing here. The one thing I thought was kind of crazy is somebody yesterday, one of the scientists that I was looking at about the InSight, is somebody said, "Wow, what do you give the chances of success here of this actually landing?" And he said, "About 50%." I went, "What? 50%? That doesn't seem like a lot." But yeah, I guess they're giving it a 50-50 shot that this thing lands. I don't know if that was just being modest. Like I would hope to think that we'd have a better chance of actually landing. But space is hard, so hopefully we have success. So I do want to point out here. We'll switch over to where's my big screen here. Let's switch over to the big screen here. So if you see the T-minus countdown at the bottom right there, we're at T-minus 4 minutes. People might be freaking out like, oh my God, we got 4 minutes. The beginning of the launch window is at 7:05, which is still another 20 minutes from now. So we got plenty of time. You're going to see T-minus 4 minutes is going to hold right now. So that T-minus 4 minute hold, that's in all of ULA's launches. They do their countdown a little bit differently than SpaceX does, a little bit differently than Blue Origin, or everybody's got their own different countdown. But this T-minus 4 minute hold will last a long time. It seems like forever because you see that on the countdown. You're like T-minus 4 minutes. You're like, oh, we're so close. But that's going to hold for a long time. And sometimes I've seen it hold for hours. Hopefully we don't have that today. But it could hold for hours, but they restart it when they're 4 minutes out. So yeah, we'll see that count. So don't freak out too much. And I'm going to turn the audio on here. We'll listen and see what they have to say this morning for launch today. Let me see if I had any other photos that I wanted to show. I mean, because some of these we'll get to after launch. We can take a look at them. Again, oh, I know what I wanted to show. So here's those two CubeSats that I was mentioning. That's Marco A and Marco B. They're basically going to relay that communication during the EDL phase, the entry, descent, and landing phase of the InSight mission. So as InSight's coming down, you see it's got the parachute out in the animation, and then it'll relay those communications and send them back to us here on Earth. So David Ray says, I work for Blue Origin, by the way. Oh, that is awesome. Now I'm intimidated. Now I'm worried I'm going to say something stupid. we got an actual Blue Origin employee in the house today. Good to have you with us, David. Thanks for hanging out to watch this here. Let's see. Carrie, I see on Facebook. Hi, Carrie. In case you haven't watched one of ours before, we are simulcasting on both YouTube and Facebook at the same time. So I try to watch both comments the best I can. So if I miss it, I will try to get back to it. All right. Well, let's see what they have to say. If there's anything we want to listen to on their broadcast. Let me get my earbud in here so we don't get any feedback. And we got more that we can talk about here, but we'll switch over to this. Let's get the volume up. Try not to blow out anybody's eardrums.
What it did, liftoff. At 4 minutes 20 seconds, the first Centaur main engine
hopefully that's not too loud.
Sending the Centaur into a circular orbit. Approaching payload fairing jettison, the Centaur is burning propellant at a rate of 51 pounds per second, traveling at more than 10,000 miles per hour, and located 79 miles in altitude and 252 miles downrange. During ascent, InSight is protected inside a 4-meter diameter payload fairing. At approximately 4 minutes 28 seconds, the payload fairing is jettisoned. At 13 minutes 16 seconds, cutoff of the Centaur main engine, or MECO-1, occurs. The mission now enters an hour-long coast phase. At nearly 1 hour and 15 minutes, the Centaur main engine is restarted for the second and final burn. placing Centaur on its path to spacecraft separation.
Those CubeSats are in that yellow box in the bottom there.
4 minutes and 49 seconds later, final
by the
cutoff
engine
of the
bell.
Centaur main engine occurs. At 1 hour, 28 minutes and 40 seconds, Centaur releases NASA's InSight spacecraft on its journey to Mars. Deploying from dispensers mounted on the aft bulkhead carrier on Centaur, the Mars Cube 1, or MARCO CubeSats, will provide real-time communication relay covering the entry, descent, and landing of InSight on Mars. MARCO A separates 1 hour, 29 minutes into flight, followed 48 seconds later by the separation of MARCO B.
Cool. So yeah, there.
From the Mission Director Center, we're about T-minus 4 minutes and holding. We have about 14 minutes, 40 seconds left before a liftoff. With that, we'll go back to Stephanie Martin. Stephanie?
Hi, I'm Stephanie Martin. For those of you just joining us on social media, we'd like to welcome you to launch coverage of InSight,
Is that good?
which will give Mars its first thorough checkup since it formed 4.5 billion years ago.
Volume is good.
InSight will take the vital signs of Mars, including its pulse, its temperature, and its reflexes. InSight is flying on United Launch Alliance's Atlas V 401 configuration and has a 2-hour launch window starting at 4:05 this morning Pacific time or 7:05 Eastern time. This means that the launch team has 2 hours to lift off from Space Launch Complex 3 at Vandenberg Air Force Base. InSight is set to land on November 26th in the Elysium Planitia region of Mars, which is about 373 miles from the Gale crater, where NASA's Curiosity rover landed in August 2012. After InSight lands, it will spend 728 Earth days, or a little over a Martian year, studying the planet's interior. After the spacecraft's roughly 6-month journey to Mars, it will begin its landing phase. InSight will be the red planet's first thorough checkup since it formed 4.5 billion years ago. InSight will take the vital signs of Mars, its pulse, its temperature, and its reflexes. After InSight enters the Martian atmosphere, traveling 13,200 miles per hour, it deploys its parachute and ultimately slows down to 5 miles per hour for touchdown.
There's a temperature probe there.
1 minute later, InSight will begin surface operations, checking out the lander's health indicators, then deploying its 2 solar arrays. It will take about 10 weeks to place all the instruments onto the ground, and about 7 weeks later, the self-hammering heat probe will reach 10 to 16 feet into the Martian soil. There are about 2 briefcase-sized CubeSats known as Mars Cube 1 or MARCO hitching a ride on today's mission. Now with that, let's go back to NASA's Joshua Finch in the Mission Directors Center.
All right, Joshua. Where is he? Sweep and clear, said, did you see?
I take that back. NASA's new administrator, Jim Bridenstine, shares his thoughts on NASA's InSight mission, the future missions for human exploration plans, and what NASA's impact is on the world.
So what Mars InSight lander is going to allow us to do is really map the inside of Mars. This is an important mission, not just for the United States, but an important mission for the world, so we can better understand why planets change and ultimately understand even more about our own planet. I think the one thing that really excites everybody is a question that we ask ourselves over and over again, which is, are we alone in the universe? Is there potential for life on a planet that's not our own? And one of the things that we want to do with Mars 2020, which is going to launch during the next window we have to go to Mars, is understand if there was a potential, or maybe even Mars might have at one time hosted life. If we want to get as much science as we can, as fast as we can, we need to get really good at using robots. We're going to have robotic missions to the moon before we have humans go to the moon so that we can get the most out of our human science missions. And that's true on Mars as well. This president and vice president are very committed to getting America back to the surface of the moon as fast as possible. Earth, because we live here. And it's the only planet we know that can host life, so we better take care of it.
I didn't know what was going on here.
When I was 5 years old, They made us draw what we wanted to be when we grew up, and I drew a picture of an airplane. I had a picture of myself there wearing a hat that I thought airline pilots wore. As a pilot in the Navy, I became very dependent on space-related capability. And a lot of the technologies that come from NASA have multiple uses and have transformed the way we live our lives. So people say, why are you interested in space? I think the question is, why wouldn't you be interested in space? It's critical to our everyday lives. So this is a critical mission for our country. It's a critical mission for the world. These are some of the brightest minds that our country has. We've got great international partners, and our nation is grateful, and in fact, the world is grateful for their service.
It is great to hear from our new NASA administrator. Now remember, you can follow him on Twitter using @JimBridenstine. We're now a little more than 9 minutes away from today's launch. Let's go to NASA's Joshua Finch in the Mission Director Center for the final countdown of today's launch. Josh?
Thank you very much, Stephanie. And I'm actually being joined by Alyssa Macbeth from United Launch Alliance. Alyssa's going to give us a little more insight in today's mission. Alyssa, can you tell me about your role at ULA and what it's like to work for Insight?
Yeah, thanks for having me here. So I work at the launch site. I'm a systems engineer for launch operations, mainly in the avionics department. So that covers everything from batteries to harnessing to the flight boxes that takes the rocket to where it needs to go in outer space. My personal role, I'm also involved with ordnance, so installing all the pyrotechnics that separate the stages, separate the spacecraft from the vehicle on orbit, those kinds of things. So that's mainly what I'm involved with. And on Insight, I was able to, it's my first West Coast launch, and on Insight, I was able to come out here for the past couple of weeks and do just that, install batteries, install some ordnance, and do some final connections.
So you're often on console for ULA launches. Can you tell us what it's like to be on console?
Absolutely, yeah. So on console it's an experience. It's very exciting. The adrenaline in the room,
the
you can feel the energy.
It's so foggy.
There's a lot of system testing happening just to prepare the rocket for launch and verify that everything is in configuration and nominal.
Crazy.
We fuel the rocket at that point, T-minus 2 hours and counting. And then it's really just some final checks to verify that everything is good. We've got a team of people at the launch site sitting on console, as well as our certified responsible engineers in Denver, who are also having a second set of eyes on the systems as well.
And so can you tell me what's happened up to this point in the countdown and what we can expect before launch?
Yeah, so we're getting up to the terminal count now. So terminal count is T-minus 4 minutes and counting. So up to this point, the rocket is fully fueled. We're doing some final system checks. All of the testing that I had talked about earlier is completed, and we are doing our final, we're ready to go. So we'll get into a status here soon. All the systems will go through and say, yep, we're good to go. And we'll be ready.
And we're about 10 seconds away from that poll now, so let's listen in.
Okay.
Yeah, so while they're polling here for that, a couple things that I wanted to note. So Tori Bruno tweeted out that they were working an engineering issue with, let me turn this down a little bit. They were working an engineering issue with data feeds. Apparently they had a bit of a technical issue there. They have resolved that. So that was the technical issue started about 7 minutes ago. They resolved it about 2 minutes ago.
Go pneumatics.
So they're polling now. Spacecraft is on internal power. We're in good shape.
Go LO2. Go.
And this is the poll here. So
gas. Go electrical systems airborne. Go.
At this point,
go facility. Go. RFFTS.
Go. Is there a spacecraft in there somewhere?
Go. GCQ.
You squint your eyes, you can see.
Go.
You can see the outline of a rocket.
Yes. Go. Redline monitor. Go.
Wow, that's crazy to me. Go. It is very early in California.
Go. ULA safety officer. Go.
4 o'clock in the morning.
Vehicle system engineer. Go. Anomaly chief. AC is go. Range coordinator. Clear to proceed. Launch director.
LC, you have permission to launch.
Good permission to launch.
ALC, verify T0 is set for 11:05 Zulu. Verified. OS, start list data capture.
And as you've heard, that poll is now complete. We are still within the hold, the T-minus 4 mark. But with the L clock, we're about 5 minutes, 40 seconds away from launch. And Alyssa, one last question for you. You have teams working at this launch
So
site.
he mentioned one thing I wanted to jump on. Sorry, I'm going to jump over this interview here, but he mentioned the L clock and the T clock. So the T clock is the T clock can move. You know, it's got these built-in holes. The L clock is generally the L minus time is the exact time to launch. So like we're at T minus 4 minutes and holding. Launch is actually in 5 minutes at 7:05. So the L minus clock would actually show 5 minutes. So the L minus always runs, and that's configured for the exact launch time, and that always runs and counts down. There's no holds in the L minus clock. The T minus one is the one they show us. The L minus one is probably the one that you actually think of more often, because if you saw like space shuttle missions and things like that, they didn't have these holds at the 4 minute mark. I mean, they had holds for sure, but they
on social media.
I know a lot of people aren't used to the 4 minute hold that sits here for so long.
It's 401 configuration, and it's stacked on the launch site at Space Launch Complex 30, the West Coast launch site for the Atlas V.
Sorry, I'm listening. It's loud in my ear. I forgot I turned it down for you guys. You're not hearing anything. But Mark on Facebook said it's amazing all the people involved in this checkoff. Yeah, the polling. I'm assuming. Yeah, there's so many systems involved, and it's not even just ULA. You got to think of there's the 30th Space Wing that's keeping track of weather, you know, range safety, all that kind of stuff. There's people from NASA. There's people from the InSight team. There's people from the ULA team.
3, 2, 1.
So I think they just started the count. Yeah, there it is
T
again.
minus 4 minutes and counting.
So now we're counting. Now we're going. This is a good
United
sign.
States Air Force has been monitoring weather for us, and as you can see, some fog on your screen, some visibility
fog.
issues.
A lot of fog.
But that's not a constraint for launch today, so we are green on the range in terms of weather. The Air Force range is also responsible for public safety during launches from here on the West Coast, and has been coordinating with United Launch Alliance and the NASA teams, ensuring that launch area and the flight path are clear for the launch of the Atlas V rocket. And we have no collision avoidance cutouts or COLAs during the window today. But right now we're tracking to a 4:05 Pacific time launch.
Yeah, and so the 30th Space Wing, they said 20% chance.
3 minutes, 20 seconds and counting.
20% chance of ideal conditions. Obviously, these are not ideal conditions, but they did say, like I mentioned early in the broadcast, that they were going to waive that requirement if all the other safety features and factors of the vehicle and the range and everything were still holding and in place. So they can launch in the fog. It's not ideal, but sounds like they're going to.
2 minutes, 50 seconds.
Atlas, thanks to flight pressure.
FTS internal.
We're at 2 minutes, 45 seconds to launch. The flight termination system on the Atlas V has just gone to internal.
Got a little bit nervous when I saw Tori Bruno tweet out that they were working an issue. I thought we were going to have a extended hold there that might delay the launch time, but luckily, they said, I guess there was an engineering team in Colorado, I think he said, that they said resolved the issue in a hurry, it sounds like. Yeah, I don't want to talk over this too much because we're getting down to it now.
We're just about T minus
2 minutes
2
here.
minutes and counting.
1 minute, 59 seconds.
Vehicle internal.
1:55.
Launch sequencer start.
Yeah, sweep and clear on YouTube says once it's lit, you'll see it.
Centaur LH2.
Yeah, we'll see it soon.
LO2.
Can't see it right now, but we'll see it soon. Right now, you gotta squint.
Launch enabled.
You can see the outline.
137.
FTS armed.
FTS, I think that's flight termination system, right? Should make oddball.
You're looking at a live shot.
Should make for an interesting visual.
Spacecraft
yeah,
on top of the rocket at Space Launch Complex 30.
We'll see.
Yeah, definitely should be.
FTS
The launch azimuth or flight path
kind of
tonight
excited,
will be in a
actually.
southeastern direction, hugging the coast
see
of
the
Southern
exhaust plume
California
in the,
and Mexico.
In all this fog.
Vent valves locked.
We're about 1 minute, 5 seconds away from launch.
Here we go. We're getting down to it now.
Minus 1 minute.
Let's go to Mars.
Status.
Rock, range is green.
And we have just heard confirmation that the range is green. After launch, we'll be hearing the voice of United Launch Alliance's Marty Malinowski. He'll provide a status of the flight of the Atlas V and NASA's InSight.
Minus 40 seconds.
We are listening in to the final minutes of the countdown.
See Leia on YouTube. Hashtag Space Lobster, go. Yep, they pulled the Space Lobster. Space Lobsters, go.
Minus 28 seconds. 25.
Go
Status
Atlas.
check.
Go Atlas.
Go Centaur.
Go Insight.
All right, all three are go. I don't know what they did with the count.
15 seconds.
Can't see the count anymore, but here we go.
8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. And liftoff of the Atlas V, launching the first interplanetary mission on our west coast. And NASA's InSight, the first outer space robotic explorer to study the interior of Mars.
Now we see it.
Controls. Good. Check the pressures and RPMs.
Not anymore. Oh, there we go. I wonder how tough that's got to be to track.
RD-180 continues
with all
to
that
look good
fog.
at this point in the mission. Check the pressures, pump speeds, expected regions, extra ratio, controlling within expected parameters.
Can't see the vehicle at all, but we know where it is. Kind of see it behind that shine.
RD-180 engine providing 860,000 pounds of thrust.
Vehicle body rates continue to look good.
So max Q, they don't have the clock up
All
here, but
booster systems look nominal at this point.
max Q is about 1:26 seconds into the flight here. That's kind of the first big event of the flight.
Mach 1.
There's Mach 1.
The rocket is now traveling faster than the speed of sound.
We should be about 10 seconds from max Q here.
Coming up, the rocket will enter max Q. This is the point where mechanical stress on the rocket reaches its peak because of the rocket's velocity and resistance created by Earth's atmosphere.
Coming up on the throttle down.
So then BECO, the booster engine cut off.
Signatures look good.
That's at 4 minutes. Actually, a really long time. So they're going to... So that first stage is going to go for 4 minutes. So we got a while
Current
here.
altitude
There we
is
go. There's a better
13
view of it.
miles. Downrange distance 7 miles. Current velocity 1,965 miles per hour.
Yeah, I wish they would throw some of that information up on the display, like altitude, speed, the clock. The clock would be nice, so we know when BECO's coming up.
Closed loop guidance has begun.
I don't know why they don't.
The first part of the
that.
flight was pre-programmed trajectory. Now the rocket is giving itself feedback on its flight path.
And Q alpha steering has begun. Body rates look good. Pump speeds, injector pressures, all within band.
Already that rocket weighs less than half of what it weighed at launch time, which is crazy. It's burning so much fuel.
Pyro valve has been fired. System is now pressurized into flight level. Signatures look good.
So we should be... well, I don't know. I don't have a clock. So we should be coming up on BECO soon.
Altitude is 30 miles. Downrange distance 43 miles. Current velocity 4,542 miles per hour.
You are looking at a live view from the Atlas V rocket. The RD-180 engine continues to burn.
Flight rates continue to look good. RD-180 still performing well. Q alpha steering has been completed.
Nice little wake-up call for those on the West Coast there. Good morning. Here's a rocket launch.
Booster is now 1/4 of its liftoff weight.
25% of its liftoff weight now.
Flying at 4 G's acceleration. Boost phase cooldown has begun. Pogo pyro valve has been fired. Moving the throttle to 5 G's.
We are 3 minutes 50 seconds into flight, and we're nearing booster engine cutoff, or BECO.
So that'd be about
4.6
15 seconds from BECO.
Boost phase cooldown has completed.
Look at that big spread there. You get the lower pressure in the upper atmosphere there, and it just...
And we have BECO.
Oh, there we go.
Shutdown looks good.
And the RD-180 engine on the first stage of the Atlas V has shut down.
Stage separation. We have box and fuel pre-start. The GN2 purge firing of the RCS is underway. We have ignition and full thrust on the RL-10.
And the second stage engine, the RL-10, has ignited.
And we have indication of payload fairing jettison. Looks like a good step.
And the payload fairing that was encapsulating the InSight spacecraft has been jettisoned. The RL-10C engine, the second stage of the Centaur, continues to burn. You're looking at live animation telemetry.
Rates look very good.
There we go. Now we got the data on the
second
screen
stage on its flight path.
Our GN2 purge firings underway for thermal conditioning.
Downrange, already 300.
As you can see to the bottom right of your screen, the flight path of the rocket.
All been banned for the SET-MR.
Already 350 miles downrange. Wish I could drive 350 miles in 5 minutes. It'd make some of my trips a little bit easier. 11,000 miles per hour.
Closed loop view control in a slightly fuel-rich mixture ratio correction.
So next thing we're looking, let's see, where are we? Next thing we're looking at is Centaur cutoff. That's MECO 1. There's 2 cutoffs.
And a quick look
stage.
at the booster stage performance shows a very nominal booster.
MECO 1 is coming up at 13 minutes, so we got a little while here. Oh, it's got the time. Well, you can't see it behind my picture here.
For those of you that are just joining us, we had an on-time liftoff of the Atlas V rocket carrying NASA's InSight spacecraft, as well as 2 small CubeSats called Marco.
Let's see. Let me move this out of the way because I realize you guys can't see it.
8 minutes and 56 seconds in length.
Move myself out of the way there. So you can actually see, now you can see the timeline up top and you can see the stats there.
You are looking at a live shot of the Centaur second stage, the RL-10C engine, providing thrust.
And the RCS line temperatures are warming to throttle temperatures as expected.
So Rebecca says nothing. I guess we can turn this down a little bit. We got a little ways to go here before we get to
going just slightly fuel rich.
Before we get to MECO. Rebecca says nothing compares after seeing what Elon has managed with stats and images. Hashtag Space Lobster. Yes, thanks for throwing in the hashtag Space Lobster in there. Yeah, the SpaceX they've really done a really good job with their live broadcasts and keeping it lively and informed. You know, nothing against ULA, but they're very
15 seconds.
You know, they're very mission focused, obviously, which should be their primary concern.
Being taken to its trajectory.
Yeah, sometimes the
first of 2
live broadcast doesn't necessarily take a big priority with them. But Jason said, how far into the atmosphere are we? Well, we are definitely in space here. So the Kármán line, which is kind of the border of space, that's at 62 miles or 100 kilometers. So we're at 136 miles here. So we're in space.
Satellite east.
Is that info? Sweep and Clear said, is that info on the ULA site? I'm not sure. I might have missed that comment. I'm not sure what info you're referring to.
Very well. Requesting a fuel-rich condition at this point.
Let's see.
Chamber pressures, LOX pump discharge, and fuel vent.
He says they have a mission brief, but no live stats data, just audio updates and Twitter updates. Yeah, I'm assuming you're referring to
firings on the RCS.
The stats there. And then I saw somebody else commented, Oddball 75. I'm guessing if the fog was a safety risk in any way, they would have delayed the launch. Yeah, definitely. If there was a safety risk, they would certainly delay the launch. The fog itself is not ideal, but if all the other safety features of the spacecraft are in place, you know, they have the ability to track and monitor the vehicle in other ways, so that really. What they're trying to make sure that it's, from a safety standpoint, that the vehicle is going where it's supposed to go and it's not heading for population. And so they did say that that they would waive the visibility requirement. This was the 30th Space Wing. They did say that they would waive that requirement if all their other safety features and monitoring features were still in place. And that looks to be the case because obviously we launched.
Downrange distance is 1,261 miles. Current velocity 14,066 miles per hour.
Has it left outer Earth
trajectory
orbit? No, so this is...
We'll put the spacecraft in the Centaur in a park orbit before crossing the equator.
That's what he said here. So
go around
right now we're getting into a parking orbit.
It'll cross the southern edge of the Atlantic Ocean, come up over the Indian Ocean to the east of Africa, and cross over India.
Yeah, so right now we're getting into a parking orbit, which is basically a circular orbit around Earth. They're going to get that into a parking orbit first. That will be... that's what we're coming up to. This first engine cutoff is going to have us in a good parking orbit, and then we're going to have a big coast phase, and a little bit later then they're going to have main engine start again, and that will be the burn to actually send it on Mars intercept, or that interplanetary transfer there. So we're still around Earth. We're getting into this parking orbit. I don't know what the altitude of the parking orbit is. I imagine we're about 129 miles in altitude right now. I imagine the parking orbit's probably right around 130 miles. Do I have that information? I do not. I don't think I have the information on what the parking orbit is as far as altitude-wise. But it's a 63-degree inclination.
We have about 2 more
minutes. Yeah, I don't have the parking altitude.
If
anybody knows the altitude of the parking orbit, I assume actually we're getting down. We're down to about 125 miles in altitude, which is normal if you're getting into a direct parking orbit like that. Especially if you played any Kerbal Space Program, you know how a little bit how getting into orbit works. But it's pretty common to launch yourself into a higher altitude, and then as you're getting into that parking orbit, that your altitude ends up lowering a little bit as you pass the apogee while you're trying to circularize. Let's see. Jack A said, how can you lift the spirits of young people for space if they don't make launch, or at least the coverage, make it interesting? Yeah, I have to agree with you a little bit there. I mean, you want ULA to obviously be primarily focused on the mission at hand and that kind of stuff, but I do think that
we're coming up on about
we do have a sorry, they just said one minute left here until we get cut off. But I do think that we have to get some excitement for space again, which I think SpaceX is doing, Blue Origin's doing. I mean, ULA, there's still some excitement here, but I think we could be doing more, because if you get some excitement around space again, then that gets some public support, and then budgets go up, and then we can do some more cool things. So I do think it's important to get some excitement behind it. I do wish they would, even do some more with their live broadcast. Sweep and Clear said that SpaceX got a few people from Space Vidscast or the Tomorrow team. I didn't know that. That's interesting. Assuming you're talking about for their live broadcast. Yeah, I do think it would be nice if they, for like broadcasts like this, if we could get some excitement or some production value to it. I mean, it really serves no scientific purpose directly, but it gets some excitement involved and public support, and people come on board and they watch these things and they love to see it, and then because you get that support, then budgets go up, and there's more stuff we can do. So there's MECO 1. There's our shutoff. So they got a good cutoff, and now we got a long coast here.
The first burn of the second stage, RL-10, being complete.
There's our apogee and perigee there. 100 nautical miles is apogee. Roughly both apogee and perigee. It's actually 100 miles up at apogee and 99.8 miles up at perigee. So it's not perfectly circular, but it's pretty darn close.
The Space Network is in view for the separation events of the InSight spacecraft and the 2 Marco spacecraft that are traveling along.
Let's see. So somebody, I got this guy's chatting in my ear here.
So with the
let's see, oddball 75. Are the CubeSats supposed to help negate the window of death at Mars? I believe so. You know, I'm not
the spacecraft lands or orbits in the correct direction.
All right, so if they're going to talk here, I'm going to switch this around here. We'll come back to this. We're not going to completely get rid of the broadcast. We'll go back to it. We'll keep it up because we're gonna watch. I want to watch all the way up to separation here. But yeah, I believe the CubeSats are supposed to. I don't know if they completely negate the window of death at Mars, but what he's referring to is the the EDL phase, entry, descent, and landing here. You get a little bit of a blackout period, and it also when you're launching to Mars, it gets really hard because it's not like you can correct for anything. So I mean, part of what those CubeSats are doing are collecting data, relaying that communication. I mean, if something goes wrong during the EDL phase, they can't do anything about it because by the time we receive the information back at Earth that something went wrong, it's already over. I don't remember exactly what the time frame is from transmission to reception from Earth back or from Mars back to Earth, but it's minutes long. Like I think it's like 8 or 10 minutes, or maybe it's even longer than that. I can't remember exactly what it is, but it's a long time. So it's not like we're going to be able to do anything about it. But what it will allow is it'll allow us to collect a whole lot more data during the EDL phase, and then when we have that data, then we can design better systems, better entry, descent, and landing systems, so that we can have much higher success rates of landing on Mars. Not that we're having trouble landing on Mars. I mean, we've had trouble, but it's still not a walk in the park yet. We want to make it. If we're going to send people to Mars at some point, we got to make it a walk in the park where we're going to send it, and it's like, yeah, this is no big deal. We know everything that happens during this phase. It's no problem. We're just going to land it. So that's where we got to get to. And so these CubeSats are going to help us collect some data, relay that back to us during that phase there. And and here's a little picture of this is our. Oh, well, they changed it. I was going to switch over to the bigger screen, but they got rid of it. But that was our orbital transfer from Earth to Mars. And so they did say on the broadcast, I couldn't remember if it was Black Friday or Cyber Monday that they were landing on Mars, but they did say on the broadcast that it was November 26th, which is Cyber Monday, big shopping day here in the US. So Cyber Monday, November 26th, that's the day that they plan on landing on Mars. So with that on-time launch, then we should see a landing November 26th. So set your reminders. Get your calendars set. We'll see if this thing lands successfully. Hopefully it does. Let's see, Jack. How do you feel when a rocket launch, I'm assuming launches and dumps the parts somewhere else? For me, I feel upset because it's such a waste of resources and money. Yeah, it's definitely. I mean, if we can make it 100% reusable, that's definitely that would be the ultimate goal, is to just make all these parts reusable. I don't know. I'm okay with, I don't know if I would say I'm upset with it. I mean, I'm okay with it, because we got to do it somehow. I don't think we should be scrapping missions just because we're not reusable. We still got to do the science, but I definitely think reusability is a goal that we should have in mind. And really, for me, it's about the money thing, like bringing the cost down to get to space so that we can do more missions and send more landers to Mars. And the cheaper it is, the more we can do with the limited budgets that we have. And I think that's good for everybody. It's good for science. It's good for the launch providers. It's good for NASA's budget. So I think that's that's the big goal, is getting that cost down. So that we can reuse all these things. But even if we make them 100% reusable, I think we're just going to push the limit out even further than that, because now, you look at like, I don't know, the BFR or Falcon Heavy or, any of these big reusable vehicles that are coming out, and you know, there's going to be a point where it's reusable if you do X amount of weight, but if you want to do even more weight, then now it's not reusable anymore. And I still think, you know, even if we get to the point where we're at 100% reusability, then we're just going to push the limit a little bit further. And we're going to say, all right, well, we can reuse it, but some of these bigger missions, like maybe we don't want to reuse it. Maybe we want to just push this thing out there as far as we can and scrap the reusability portion of it, which I don't think is a bad thing. So let's see. Oh, Gregorius is making fun of me. Hope there's no metric imperial misconversion. I'm assuming you're making fun of me. We had a script on one of our balloon flights where I screwed up the metric versus imperial conversions in our software. Let's see. I feel like that's a common thing. Screw up metric versus imperial. That's a problem with us that grew up in the U.S. learning the imperial system, and the whole rest of the world uses metric. Is that I'm just not good with metric, so when I have to use it, it doesn't work out so well. Jason, wait, when did you say landing? Do you mean like it will be orbiting Mars? Or will be actually getting down to ground level? No, this is going to ground level. So this is a lander. This is a stationary lander. It's not going to rove around, but this will be landing. Yeah, this is actually landing on the surface of Mars, November 26th. So yeah, this is we're talking stationary lander here today. Let's get the picture back up. Yeah, so this is a stationary lander, no wheels or anything like that, so it's not going to be moving around. But this is what we're looking like. So we're landing on the surface. It's got that big seismometer, so it's going to be measuring for Mars quakes, and then a big, huge temperature probe that's going like 10 to 15. I think they said 10 to 16 feet into the surface of Mars. It's a big hammer drill. They're going to be drilling the temperature probe down 10 to 16 feet to measure the temperature of the planet. And then what they're basically doing is measuring, you know, this is getting a little bit over my head, but they're measuring what the temperature difference is below the surface versus on the surface. And that helps them, I'm not a planetary scientist, but that helps them figure out, you know, what the makeup and the composition is, you know, that's the release of heat, you know, how much heat is being released from the planet, helps them figure out, you know, what the core makeup is, all that kind of good stuff. I don't know how they do that. Magic to me, but they that's what they do with it. So the two big instruments are the temperature probe and the seismometer. I'm sure there's a bunch of other smaller instruments on board as well. Obviously, there's communication too, so we can talk to it and it can talk to us. But yeah, those are the two big instruments on board today. Let's see, where did I saw somebody else's thing. Can it drill or analyze surface material? Yeah, there's a hammer probe that's drilling for the temperature measurements. I don't believe that this lander is taking like samples and like sampling the dirt or anything like some of the Mars rovers have done. I don't think that's part of this mission. I think it's mostly sensor data collecting, you know, Mars quakes, temperatures, things like that. I don't believe they're doing like soil samples for this mission. So yeah, if you're just joining us here, we got a successful launch. We're waiting now. We're at the coast phase of the launch, which is so this is kind of, oh, that's not the right one. We wanted this one. This is kind of the timeline that we're working off of today. So we're at the coast phase, which is basically we've passed item number 6 on this list here. So we're waiting for item number 7, which is that startup is not until it's like an hour and 18 minutes here. Which if I have enough stuff to talk about, then I'll try to stick around and wait it out until we get that far. Because I don't know, I want to see the separation, which is about an hour and a half in. So that's about an hour from now. So you're going to have to listen to me just ramble on for an hour until we get to separation. But, oh, they're talking about the CubeSats here. Let's listen into that here. Oh, I thought they were talking about it. Apparently it's just music. What makes Mars Cube 1? That's the Marco, the little CubeSats. So yeah, these are the first CubeSats that are going to deep space. So part of the mission is testing, how well the CubeSats perform in deep space. Are these a viable all right, I guess we don't need the music here because they're just playing music. Is this a viable platform that we can send out to, to deep space? And that's, that's another thing that keeps the cost down. If we can send CubeSats out, we could do all kinds of stuff. So, last mission to try to study the Martian interior was the Viking mission. How far into the Martian surface is the self-hammering probe going to dig? So yeah, that self-hammering probe, that's going 10 to 16 feet, right? I believe that's what they said, 10 to 16 feet. I imagine some of, yeah, there you go, 10 to 16 feet, 3 to 5 meters. Imagine some of that depends on where they land and where they're trying to drill, as to how far they can actually get in. And what are the InSight's 3 main research techniques? Seismic, so that's the seismometer. Geodesy, I don't know how to pronounce that word, but and heat transport. What else we got? What is a long form name for InSight? Yeah, InSight stands for something, doesn't it? Yeah, there you go. Interior exploration using seismic investigation. Geodesy, I don't know how to pronounce that. And heat transport. That's our mission here today. I guess we don't have. I got to turn off this music here because it's really distracting in my ear. Could just take the earpiece out, but all right. And so they're back talking about it. So let me go back to. So this is what we were talking about. This is our timeline here that we're on. So we're waiting for the second engine to start up. That's an hour and 18 minutes. It's going to be a little while here. Yeah, so let's look at, we can look at some stuff here while we're waiting for the next engine startup to happen. Here's a nice shot of the payload fairing yesterday. I believe this was yesterday. That NASA put out here. So you can see the big InSight logo and the NASA logo up on the Atlas V's payload fairing there, the 4-meter diameter payload fairing, since it was a 401 configuration. And for scale, for comparison, this is kind of the, or not kind of, this is the, here, let's make this even a little bit bigger. There we go. This is InSight. This is the real vehicle there. So for scale, you can see kind of the size of the solar arrays there and the actual vehicle itself. That's what we're launching today, or that we did launch today. So there's some human scale there, so you can see what we're dealing with, and what's being launched here. What else we have? We talked about the CubeSats a little bit. So those 2 CubeSats, they're going to be separate. They are traveling completely separate from the actual InSight vehicle itself. So InSight's going to separate, go on its way. A few minutes later, the 2 Marco CubeSats, both separating on their own. So they're going to have their own trips to their own trips to Mars. That's completely independent of InSight, roughly following InSight, but not exactly. Let's see. Do I have anything else that we can show? We showed that. Yeah, well, there we go. That's it. It's going to be a long hour, I guess, if I'm going to keep going on this, because I don't know if I have anything else to chat about on this. Here, we can go back to see. I know. Well, we may actually go back and we'll go look at the launch again here in just a minute, because I do want to see that one more time. So we'll give that a little bit of a replay. But we had, I just want to, I'm looking at ULA's Twitter account, see if there's anything big that, that we should know about. We did have that slight issue that they were working just during the T-minus 4 minute hold. That they sorted out pretty quickly. Let me see what they said about that. Where is it? I don't know where it is. Yeah, so Tori Bruno said they're in a parking orbit now. They're doing one Earth lap, then off to Mars. So they're gonna go for one lap, and then they'll send InSight off to Mars. Let's see, where's the issue that they were talking about? Oh man, Tori Bruno's got like, he was tweeting like a madman this morning during that launch. A whole bunch. Where is, so there it says the issue's resolved. Where's the, there it is, just said working a technical issue with data feeds. I don't know necessarily what with the data feeds that they were working an issue with, but they were working an issue with data feeds, but they did resolve it. And at one point he said, who resolved it? What organization in Colorado that resolved it? But I don't see it. Well, anyways, so that is that. Let's see. All right, a couple comments I saw come in. Will the CubeSats orbit Mars? They're just flying by. They're just a flyby, as far as I know. So the CubeSats they're not going to actually get into orbit. They're just a flyby. They're going to be in, I believe, heliocentric orbit. But I think their primary mission is just during that EDL phase. They're going to fly by Mars, do that communication relay, and after that, I think they're done. I think the mission's over for the. I mean, I'm sure they'll do something with them for a little while after that. But yeah, I believe it's just a flyby. They're not actually orbiting Mars for those CubeSats. Jack A, I know this is off topic. Is there any plans to upgrade the ISS to a bigger room, just like in a movie or something, or capacity to cater more research and astronaut scientists? I don't think they are going to. I don't think so. I don't think you're going to see it upgraded to have more room in it. You know, I mean, I think the ISS. When I was down at the NASA Social, you know, we'd met some NASA folks, and kind of the you know, a little bit of the consensus, or at least from the people that were down there. I mean, obviously they don't speak for all of NASA, but some of the scientists that we spoke to, you know, one of the things that I think they want to be able to see is on-orbit assembly. And so I think you're going to see, I mean, I don't think you're going to see some of those movie looking space stations where somebody can sit down and play cards at, you know, if you've been watching, I just think of the opening scene in the new Lost in Space that's on Netflix. Anybody watching that Lost in Space? I like that. I was all right with it. Anyways, that new Lost in Space, the opening scene there, they're sitting down in their spaceship playing cards. But I don't think we're going to get, you know, those big, huge rooms, at least not in the immediate future. But they want to get to the point where they're doing on-orbit assembly, you know, things like refueling, and so, you know, where you can, you know, instead of, you know, with the SLS is a big topic of controversy for NASA. The upcoming SLS rocket that they're trying to launch, that's going to do these interplanetary missions. And you know, this is a massive rocket. It's going to have tons of power. But I guess some of the debate is, you know, do you build this gigantic rocket that can just leap off the pad and go way out into space, or do you start, you know, have something smaller that you can use multiple times and you could bring it up to the space station or something refuel it, and then go somewhere else? I don't know. There's a lot of debates. Also a lot of debate about the SLS on the cost and how long it's taken to put it together. And should NASA be focusing on a launch vehicle at all? Should they just rely on these private companies to do it? I don't know. You got to say ULA and SpaceX, and they kind of, these launch vehicles, they kind of have them down. So and Blue Origin, I don't want to forget. I know we had Blue Origin in the house earlier. I don't want to forget about Blue Origin. They got the new Shepard and the new Glenn. Their vehicles as well. So a lot of these private companies may I think they have a place with developing these launch vehicles. Especially I don't know, one thing about that gets tough with a government organization like NASA is they're under constraints about trying to keep the budget down. It gets really hard, and they've got a bajillion contractors that are trying to have input into this vehicle and put it together. And a lot of times you get into these budgetary process or design processes and things like that, and we're seeing it a lot with the SLS. Is they're like, oh well, we have this engine from the space shuttle, let's just reuse it and put it into SLS. And now it's like, all right, yeah, we're reusing the engine, but is that the best design decision for the actual launch vehicle? Like, could we build something better if we just started over again? And that's one of the things that SpaceX has said about being able to develop BFR, and I'm sure it also applies for. I'm not sure the details of like Blue Origin's heavy vehicle and what is it, the Vulcan for ULA. I don't know what their engines are, but I'm sure there's some components in there. But anyways, designing a vehicle from scratch, you can really say, all right, what do we want this thing to do? Let's just build it to do X, Y, and Z, or all of the above, or whatever it happens to be. And they're not worried about like, oh well, this one contractor already has this part. Let's just use that. Or this engine is already built. We already know how to build it. Let's just use that. You can actually redesign from scratch to see whether or not get exactly what you want. But there's a lot of pressure at NASA to try to keep the costs down, try to why throw something away when it's already built. So a lot of controversy there for the SLS, but we kind of went off on a random tangent there. But I think that's the big controversy about the SLS is the cost, and is this thing now we've sunk so much money into developing the SLS, and we're so close. It's like, all right, let's just finish it so we can see this thing launch. But there's definitely a lot of people out there that are like, let's just scrap it. I'm kind of I'm in the boat of like, we're so close, like let's just launch it, let's see what happens. Once we have it, then we can use this thing. I don't know, if you rewind back 10 years from now, if you were to say like, well, it's going to be this much, it's really going to take this much time, and it's really going to take this much budget, and actually SpaceX is going to have this vehicle, and ULA is going to have this vehicle, and Blue Origin is going to have this vehicle. I don't know if I would have said like, yeah, let's go ahead and do this, develop the SLS rocket, if you could predict the future like that. But obviously we can't. We're already into it, so let's see what happens with the SLS. I am excited to see that actually launch sometime. I don't know when it's going to launch. Seems like we keep getting pushed off, but hopefully sometime soon. But the InSight mission also got a little bit of a delay too, and that had a little bit of a budget boost. I think it was supposed to be $675 million was the original budget for the InSight mission, and now it's gotten bumped up to $850 million because there was an issue with the seismometer that they were supposed to launch this at the last Mars window, which was like 2016, it's like March 2016, I think, somewhere in there. They were supposed to launch this InSight mission then. That they had to delay it because of that because of that issue. So sorry, I'm reading the comments. Buckeye Storm says sunk cost fallacy. No offense to you or NASA. No, I don't take any offense to it. I'm a little bit. I'm a little bit of a sunk cost fallaciist. I guess you could put me in that camp. A lot of it is selfish. Really has nothing to do with the cost or the fact that, you know, whether or not this is going to be worth it. A lot of it is just, I just want to see the SLS launch at this point. Like, I just kind of want to see what that looks like and what the launch is. Like, it's probably not the best, you know, I'm sure you could make a really good argument that it's not the best decision budget-wise or cost-wise. But I just want to see it go. Plus, I was a fan of the shuttle engines, and they're reusing the shuttle engines. So I don't know. I just want to see it. Go. But reusing the shuttle engines, they're reusing the shuttle boosters. They just added a 5th segment on the boosters. So yeah, I want to see it launch. I'm excited. Yep. So count me into the sunk cost fallacy camp. Yeah, it is. I don't know. It is what it is. Let's see what else. Man, we're gonna have to vamp for a long time waiting for this next burn here to come up. Gregorius said they did add a Bigelow module to the ISS. He also said, let's see, yes, did you put the hashtag Space Lobster name with the Parker probe? Yes, I did. I registered the hashtag Space Lobster. I even put the hashtag in there. So we have hashtag Space Lobster going on the Parker probe. So NASA, if you weren't following along with that, NASA had the ability to go on their website, you type in their name, you get a little certificate, and then they're going to launch that to the sun on the Parker probe. And I did put the hashtag Space Lobster name in there. You got to send the lobster. You got to send the lobster. Look, I got a new Space Lobster toy. Got this recently. Here's another Space Lobster. This is not the one that's going to fly on our mission here. What Gregorius said, can you talk about the hashtag Space Lobster launch later this May? So yeah, we are launching. Unfortunately, the weather keeps pushing us out. We have not had good weather for launching weather balloons. So now we're talking our flights. So let's shift gears from rocket launches to weather balloons. So now we're talking our flights. We have not had, that's actually what we could do here for a little while. So if you're hanging out with us, maybe we'll get a little sneak preview of our last flight, our video footage from our last flight. We could do that. Now that we had a sneak preview during the live broadcast, but that was crappy quality, or I was like filming my computer screen with my phone, like that was bad. We can actually get some footage up from the last launch here. What was I saying? I got lost. We were switching gears to weather balloons because something. What was I going to say? Oh, the weather. That's right. The Space Lobster launch. So yeah, the weather's been pushing us out. We had planned to have already 3 flights in by this point, but we're only 2 flights in. Just the weather was so bad in April. Like, I mean, we were snowing the morning of our last launch. It was April 29th. We had an inch of snow on the ground when I woke up. I was like, oh, you got to be kidding me. So we're a little bit behind what we expected to be schedule-wise for our launches. So the Space Lobster, there's a good chance that Space Lobster may get moved to June, because we have another launch coming up that is a non-Space Lobster launch. That one is coming up. It's looking like we're going to try to get it to go May 12th, which is my birthday. We're going to try to get it to go May 12th. But I think it's going to be more like May 20th. And if that flight goes on May 20th, then that pushes the Space Lobster one to June, unfortunately. So the Space Lobster flight, it's not this guy. This guy's not going to fly. Although that would be kind of cool if you could get this up there, maybe rig up a motor to just make it do this while it's flying the whole way. That'd be kind of cool. But we'll make use of this here, since I'm strapped in here. Let's get the, can I do this? You think I can? Yeah, lobster grabbing the lobster. So here's the Space Lobster. This is the guy that's going up. This is the guy that's going up on our next balloon flight. There's our, right here, there's our payload box for our balloons. And so the idea is, somehow, I don't have any strings here to kind of simulate this, but basically we're going to kind of simulate, or we're going to suspend this in front of the camera, you know, something like this. I don't know, at an angle of some sort. Either, I don't know if it's like, I think it's going to be something like this. Probably should put this in the center of the screen. It'll be something like this. We'll suspend it in front of the camera, and we'll get some cool footage of the space lobster in space, or at least what looks like space, near space technically. So so yeah, there we go. So yeah, that's coming up. The space lobster launch is coming up in I'm guessing it's probably going to be June. And then I don't know whose idea it was. One of you guys commented it was one of your ideas, but I think what we're going to do is so we're going to launch the space lobster, send it to near space, and then we're going to auction it off. So we're if you don't know about our company, we are a nonprofit 501c3 educational charity. So we don't do any of this for profit. All our weather balloon flights are really just to get kids and even adults more interested in science, technology. That's also why we do like these rocket launch broadcasts and things like that. We were kind of talking earlier about trying to get people interested in space and science again, and all that, you know, get people excited. So that's why we do some of this stuff. So it's a nonprofit company. So if you want to donate, you can go to overlookhorizon.com/donate, make a generous donation, right? Wink, wink. But in reference to the space lobster, I think we're going to fly this, and then we're going to auction it off after the flight. So I don't know how to do that yet. I mean, I'm sure I could figure it out, but somehow we're going to come up with an auction for the space lobster, and we're gonna auction this off, and we'll send somebody a space lobster, and I'm gonna even make it a little bit better, because we got Overlook Horizon stickers. We'll send you one of these if you win the auction. We've also got some, you know, we went down to the NASA social. We got test stickers so we'll send you a test sticker here. We got a whole bunch of test stickers we can send out to you. We got some test mission patches. We'll send out a test mission patch to you. We may or may not have well, I should just say we may. We're going to have a giveaway, not for this video, but because the test mission, that was a SpaceX launch. So during one of our SpaceX broadcasts, you'll have to come back, because we're going to give away a couple of these mission patches. So if you want to win a mission patch, you got to come back to a broadcast, and then we'll give away some stickers too, because we got a whole bunch. We got all kinds of swag from we got these mission patch, or these test stickers. So you can win yourself some test stickers, a test mission patch, maybe if you're lucky, even a test pin. Should have worn my test pin here today. I got one of these is open here that I got here somewhere, but yeah, we got some cool stuff to give away here. So yeah, you definitely have to follow along and join us, definitely for the space, because most of those giveaways we'll probably do during the live SpaceX broadcast. Since the test mission was a SpaceX flight, we'll do that, and we'll give away all kinds of stuff. Some Overlook Horizon stickers, some test mission patches. I mean, I love mission patches here personally. I'm a big fan of mission patches, but just in case you're curious on the worth of these mission patches, you might look at it, you know, it's probably not a huge deal, but these mission patches, they were selling on eBay right after the launch for like $175, which is crazy. I don't know. I didn't eBay them. I'm not selling them on eBay. More valuable to me to hold on to them and keep them, but yeah, you can come back. We'll send out a couple of these. We don't have an unlimited supply, but we got a bunch of them here. You know, we got a couple of test patches here. So you come back for a SpaceX launch. We got one coming up Monday. We'll give away a test patch on Monday, and then and let's see and then, you know, we got a whole bunch of launches, SpaceX launches coming up throughout the year. So while supplies last, we'll do some giveaways maybe on Twitter. So make sure you're following us at OLHCN on Twitter as well. Might do a giveaway for either stickers or a patch or something on Twitter. Some of those upcoming launches. So that's the plan, because we got some swag to give away from the NASA social event. So So yeah, you got to make sure you come back for that. I did get, we got some other cool stuff from the NASA Social. Some of them I won't give away. We did get, yeah, some of them I only have like one of, so I'm going to hold on to those, sorry. But let's see, I was trying to see, I don't know, my desk, you can't see it here, but my desk is a mess. I'm still recovering. We had our own balloon launch. We had the NASA Social event. Still trying to recover and get my life in order. I did get, this one I'm not giving away, but I'm going to show it to you. This was the official test mission patch from SpaceX. This is actually from one of the mission managers that was in the launch control room when it launched. So the guy that was, or actually I don't know if he was in the launch control room, but he's from NASA headquarters. He was part of the mission team, and he after the test launch, we all went out to the bar afterwards. He came to the bar and he hung out with us. He chatted for hours. He was hanging out with us. We were talking about tests and NASA and other missions and priorities and goals and all kinds of stuff. And at the end of the night, he was like, hey, I don't really like patches. You want my SpaceX mission patch? I was like, yeah. And so I got an official SpaceX mission patch directly from one of the mission managers, which is pretty cool. Pretty excited. This one I'm not giving away. Sorry, but I'll share. Whoa, what happened to my focus? But I'll share it with you. At least show you what I got. But we got the whole bunch of the test patches. So we'll give away some of the official test patches in one of those. So. Let's see. Yeah, Mark, lobster hashtags on the Sun Probe. Yes, we are definitely sending the hashtag Space Lobster on the Sun Probe, the Parker Sun Probe. Deborah Shea, thanks for hanging out with us. See you later, Deborah. Have a good day. Got to run. I think you mean literally run. I think, weren't you saying you were actually on a run earlier? Jack A, definitely come back for the test patch. Yes, awesome. You need Space Lobster mission patches in the future. I know, Jason. I really want to get some SpaceX mission patches. I would love to. I know, they're kind of expensive to get. It's tough to. I mean, we have some budget to get like stickers and things like that to try to extend our reach, but it gets tough to try to justify an actual mission patch for our missions, just because you have to buy so many of them to actually make it happen. But we are trying to get mission patches made for our, we want to try to do them in smaller quantities so that when we do, we'd like to be able to do a mission patch for every single mission that we do, but it gets too expensive. We may just do a mission patch of our logo or something, because right now all we have is stickers for that. We got all kinds of stickers. We got these stickers. We got magnets. You can see over my shoulder. Right there. We got magnets. We've got I don't know. We got all kinds of. What else do we have? Big stickers, little stickers. We got a bunch of stickers. That's what we give away to the kids that come out to our launches. So if you're in the area and you want to come watch one of our weather balloon launches, we give out stickers. So there you go, stickers. Let's see. Well, I guess while we're waiting on separation, so we're getting there. We're getting there. We're about 15 minutes away or so from separation. Let's see, Jason. You can't just get a couple for yourself to wear. I see. I'm assuming you're talking about the mission patches. Yeah, You can't. I haven't found a place that will do just a couple of patches, at least inexpensively. Like, if you do a couple patches, it's like $500 for 5 patches or something. We can't spend that. But I'd love to be able to find, you can spend a couple of dollars and get a couple of patches in. But yeah, I don't know. At some point we may, the Space Lobster probably become a recurring theme now, in case you've been following along. So at some point we probably got to make a Space Lobster mission patch, and we may, maybe on Space Lobster 2.0, the second Space Lobster flight, the return of the Space Lobster, will, oh God, I'm cracking myself up over that. You guys started this, really. It's your fault. well, actually, I guess I started it with the Red Lobster commercial, so I guess it is my fault. But anyway, so with the return of the Space Lobster, the second flight of the Space Lobster, maybe we will, maybe by then we can actually have a Space Lobster mission patch that we could give away or something. That would be cool, right? So yeah, we'll see what happens there. But let's talk about. Let's see. We want to get here. We can get rid of this. Let's look at some footage while we're waiting. Let's look at some footage from our recent flight, right? I want to see some. High altitude balloon footage here. Let's see what we got here. So one of the things that I can show if my computer doesn't freak out is here, we'll go over here like this. Let's see, how can I do this? We'll make it full screen and we'll turn the volume on so you can kind of hear it. So if you let's see, go here, yeah, there we go. So this is a view that you didn't see during the live broadcast. This was one of our cameras that was capturing the actual launch itself. These winds, so this was, if you weren't following along, this was last Sunday, April 29th, that we did our flight. The winds were crazy. We were kind of encased in this cove here where the actual filling was, where you see the tanks in front of the screen there. So we were in this cove that kept us pretty well protected from the wind. But it was only, that little protective area that we had there was only so tall. So I don't know, it was maybe 10 or 12 feet tall. As soon as you got above the 10 or 12 feet, then you're exposed to the wind, and they were gusty for sure. And so you can see, this is not even the worst of it here, but in this picture, you can kind of see the balloon off at an angle there, and we'll hit play here. But basically, I guess before I start playing it, I just want to explain what's going on here. That's that balloon comes way down, like getting closer to the ground. The wind is blowing so hard, and when that happens, when you're going to actually launch a weather balloon, you can't just let it go, because as soon as you let it go, the payload's going to swing like a pendulum, would bounce off the ground, could break something. So you actually have to run to get underneath the balloon and try to catch up to the balloon, and then you can let it go. So this was the actual launch, which I think you missed on the live broadcast. But this was me in a dead sprint trying to get under the balloon to actually launch this thing. Wasn't my most graceful launch. You actually get I don't know. Oh, there we go. I don't know what just happened there. But look at it. You see the balloon getting pulled way down, fighting with it. Then the sprint, get under it and let it go. And it was pretty wobbly when I first let it go there. So there it goes off in the distance there. You can kind of see the drone way up in the top, but this view is kind of washed out. We got to do some processing with this image to make it not quite as washed out there. But yeah, that was our launch in a dead sprint there, and we had here. This was us getting ready for launch here. You see me struggling with the thing. This you probably saw in the live broadcast if you were watching that, but like those are the ones, like right here. These are the ones that make me nervous when it blows like crazy like this, and then it comes down and almost hits the ground. Like if it just hits a small twig, like right there, pretty sure it hit the ground there when the wind blew it, which is not good. If it hits a small twig and pops even the tiniest hole in it, that thing is gonna go. Yeah, we were struggling with it, trying to get this thing launched. So those were a couple of views that you didn't see in the broadcast if you were watching that. And then here we can watch the actual launch itself. So this is the reverse angle there from the balloon. All right. I'm gonna give you a warning. This is gonna make you sick. As soon as I let it go, it starts. I hit it on the just as I let it go, and it wobbled like crazy. And there you see. There's our. So that's kind of the. Here we get back up just a little bit. Spin around. That gives you a little better look at the protection that we had there. We were kind of like right behind that fencing and the trees there. That was keeping us protected from the wind. But as soon as you got up above that fencing and the tree line there, the wind was brutal. So yeah, and then we got up. Even just within the first couple minutes, it stabilized a little bit. It was still pretty breezy, so it's wobbling around. You get a nice little view of Canandaigua Lake there. Still below the cloud level. So we got some nice views of that. Here's a little closer to Canandaigua Lake. I see it a little bit larger in the frame there. Kind of looks nice, right? That's all right. And then we had a couple of like in between the cloud layer shots like this, or maybe this one might be better. So we got a whole bunch of files to go through. Then you got some shots that you're in the middle of the cloud, so you don't see anything. Then you get up above. There's still some areas that are washed out. Let's see what else we got here. Get up a little bit higher. Still kind of hazy. A lot of spin. There's a lot of wind during this flight. This was kind of the peak. This is the peak of our flight here. Oh, there, yeah, there's our balloon break there, somewhere in there. Yeah, here, I'm going to turn the volume up a little bit so you can actually hear and listen for the break happening. There it is. There's the break. So we'll have some. We'll definitely condense these videos down and put them up on our YouTube channel. Oh wow, that was. Turn that down. Sorry. So yeah, this was during descent. Actually, it was actually kind of cool. One of the things that happened during descent is we went through this cloud layer, and we were basically getting pelted with ice. Like it looked like a snowstorm, but it was all ice pellets. And if you, I'll turn the volume up. If you listen, ignore the wind here, but if you listen, you could just hear the camera the payload getting pelted with ice. Which was kind of cool. But then, so it's getting pelted with ice. Then like 2 minutes later, it comes out of the clouds. It was gone. It wasn't snowing. It wasn't raining on the ground. It was just in those clouds that we were getting pelted with ice, and there was nothing happening on the ground. As soon as you went through the clouds, that was it. And then we had our little bit of a hard landing here. This is our landing alarm. Gets kind of annoying. And then, boom. A little bit of a rough landing. And that's where we ended up, 75 feet up in a tree. So that was our flight. How's our broadcast doing here? Oh, NASA's still in chat mode there. So we're still waiting on them to come back for to continue the broadcast there. But oh, I think they're talking about the CubeSats here. We can listen in for a minute here. Let's see what they got to say about the CubeSats.
How are you going to get there? Are you going to ride on the spacecraft, or how does this work?
We are not going to ride on the spacecraft, actually. We are a whole separate spacecraft. The primary payload, in this case InSight, is up in the nose of the rocket. We're kind of used to seeing it. We don't get to be there. That's kind of the first-class cabin. We're in steerage, way at the bottom. So we're mounted outside of the third stage on the back side of the tank. It's called the aft bulkhead carrier, hanging just above the engine.
That's the nice way of saying it.
Yes, it is. Hanging just above the engine nozzle. So it's a rough ride. It's a shaky ride.
When will you deploy then?
About a minute after the InSight vehicle separates from the third stage. Third stage does a small 4-degree maneuver and then spits out one of the Marcos. And then it does a 180-degree roll and spits out the other Marco. And that way all three spacecraft, InSight, Marco A, Marco B, are all going in different directions so they don't bump into each other. And then they continue as a threesome with coordinated trajectory correction maneuvers so that on each maneuver they are kind of keeping in lockstep, close enough to be within a few thousand kilometers at Mars so that the relay can do its job.
It's now time for more InSight and Marco trivia.
Oh, and they're going into trivia mode. So that was kind of cool to see. Yeah, they've got... well, there's our status here now. We're still in that parking orbit. We're waiting for the next burn. We're getting a little bit closer. You can see the timeline up at the top. Getting a little closer to the next burn there, which is happening. That's like an hour and 18 minutes into the flight. It's a long wait, waiting for that next burn to happen here. So, but everything's nominal according to the last update I saw, which was 4 minutes ago. Everything is nominal. They were we're about let's see, what are we? What's our relight time here? Was second main engine start was an hour and 18 minutes into flight. We launched at 7:05. That's Eastern time. So what's that math? That puts us at oh boy, what's that? 8:23. Is that right? Does that sound about right? 8:20. Yeah. So we're coming up here soon. We're about we're a little over 10 minutes away from that relight here. So so yeah, let's see. Oddball 75. I guess you could say that the hashtag Space Lobster is becoming the official animal mascot of Overlook Horizon. Yeah, the hashtag Space Lobster is definitely becoming the official mascot of Overlook Horizon, which was not something that I ever expected. But yeah, the Space Lobster is definitely becoming an official, unofficial mascot. But that's awesome. We need a mascot. We had our couple buddies over my shoulder there. That one of them we flew on a flight, and one of them we have not flown on a flight. But we got these two guys. This guy actually flew on Overlook Horizon 4. This is our little space referee that flew on Overlook Horizon 4. Then this was our Astro Duck that was going to fly on. I'm not going to. I can't use the actual copyright name. But this was our Astro Duck that was going to fly. It was going to fly, but surprisingly, we got this little figurine in. We never actually put him. He was going to fly last year, but we never actually put him on board a flight. This plastic helmet that he's got on is super heavy. It's like crazy thick, and it's like he is so top heavy with this plastic helmet. It's, I don't know, weight is always an issue with our flights. But yeah, this is this, I don't know, it feels like it's, 5 inches thick, and it's only like, I don't know, maybe a quarter of an inch thick, but this is heavy duty, and I don't know why. It seems like it seems unnecessarily heavy at the top. It doesn't seem like it needs to be this heavy, but the top is very heavy. So that's why I never flew. We may fly it at some point, now that we're getting into bigger vehicles ourselves, so we may fly it at some point. So Gregoria said, I saw here online an embroidery company that does patches. Minimum order is 10 for $22 a piece. Kind of expensive. Yeah, that's about what we saw. You can do smaller amounts, like 10 patches, $22 a piece. Yeah, it's still You know, still $220 for 10 patches. Kind of expensive. You know, there's a lot we can do with our regular flight programs for $220. I mean, that's two flights worth of helium. So yeah, that's probably not happening. But maybe we'll do a maybe we'll do a you know, either an Overlook Horizon mission patch or come up with some kind of hashtag Space Lobster mission patch, because I feel like that could be worthy of a mission patch.
It's fairly large, and it simulates a much larger dish that would otherwise have to be curved and would be much harder to actually stow in that volume.
So here's the CubeSats,
so it could enable
the Marco
a lot of really
CubeSats
cool
we're talking about again.
Communications technologies in the future.
Yeah, Deborah says make a hashtag Space Lobster patch
with the mission
for fundraising. Yeah, I think we should make a. I think an Overlook Horizon patch and a Space Lobster patch would be the two that we'd make. I don't think we'd make mission patches for every mission, but we could make a hashtag Space Lobster mission patch. I think we're going to try to look into that. Need somebody to design a patch for us, though. And I have no designs, and I'm not a graphic designer. We're going to have to get somebody to design a Space Lobster patch. It might be hard for me to find a company trying to explain to them, yeah, so we have this hashtag Space Lobster, and we need to make a mission patch for it. It would be hard to explain.
Exactly what we told it to do.
We are an hour and 10 minutes into the flight of NASA's InSight spacecraft. At this time, let's do some more InSight and Marco trivia.
All right, so they're going to go back into trivia mode again. We're gonna shut this off here. Let's see, we're getting closer. We're almost there. We're under 10 minutes now. For under 10 minutes until the next. Yeah, Deborah says Fiverr. Yeah, that's probably, we have used Fiverr before. That's probably where we would go, and that's exactly what I was thinking. Was we'd go to Fiverr and have somebody design a Space Lobster mission patch for us. But it might be tough to try to explain what we exactly want out of a Space Lobster mission patch, but we're gonna try. So let's see. I was gonna say something else. Oh, so busy day in space today. We've got the InSight launch. We're waiting for this. We've also got the Dragon capsule from the cargo resupply mission. The Dragon capsule is coming back today. That was from the CRS-14 mission, which was the beginning of April. So the Dragon capsule, the cargo capsule, is coming back today from the International Space Station. And so yeah, busy day today in the space world. We got InSight, we got Dragon coming back. And then busy week here, busy weekend, because then we also potentially, haven't heard officially yet from SpaceX, but potentially they're still going to launch the Bangabandhu flight. Hopefully I'm saying that right. Everybody just seems to be calling it Banga, but the Bangabandhu flight, satellite for Bangladesh, SpaceX is intending to launch, at least as of right now, they're intending to launch on Monday, but last I heard, so they did the static fire yesterday. First Block 5 static fire was yesterday evening. I don't remember what time it was, like somewhere around 7 o'clock Eastern time. They did the first Block 5 static fire. Super excited for Block 5 Falcon 9 boosters, because this will be the final locked configuration booster that's going to get NASA certification for, and that'll hopefully do some higher priority missions for both NASA and also like national security satellites and things like that. So the Block 5, that's going to be a big deal starting that off. So that first Block 5, they are going to do a water landing on the drone ship. Of course, I Still Love You. That has headed out of port and is out at sea, preparing for that landing attempt. Yeah, we should hopefully see a nice launch of the first Block 5 coming up here soon. But But yeah, that's scheduled for Monday at 4 o'clock. Just saw an update on the time. Originally it said 4 o'clock on the dot, but now, oh wait, no, that's not right. That's Iridium. Where's my, I don't know where my Bangabandu schedule is. It's not on my list anymore. Well, I don't know what happened. My Bangabandu flight is not on my flight schedule list anymore, but I don't know what happened to our broadcast. It stopped. Well, the NASA logo is still spinning, so I know it's still working on our end. We're still receiving video because the NASA logo is still spinning, but it looks like something happened on their end. Their broadcast is not working, so oh, there it goes. So we're getting close to start up here. Deborah, where is Dragon landing? That's a good question. I believe, well, it's going to be an water landing, right? I don't know. Where is the Dragon capsule landing? I didn't know if it was going to be West Coast or East Coast. I think usually they do West Coast. Let's see, is this the right one? Oh no, this is an older article from previous one that splashed down the Pacific Ocean. But I'm assuming this is splashdown in the Pacific Ocean. I don't know that for sure. I guess I haven't actually seen. I haven't seen a specific on that. I know at one point they actually it was fairly recently they were proposing to land the Dragon capsules in the Gulf of Mexico, which would have been kind of crazy. But I don't know if I don't think that was for this Dragon capsule. And I don't know if that was a primary landing or if it was just like a backup landing site. But I think they always land, I think the Dragon capsules, they always land in the Pacific Ocean. I don't think they ever do Atlantic Ocean landings for the Dragon capsule. So, yeah, there it is. All SpaceX Dragon splashdowns have been in the Pacific to date, off of California, which is several hundred kilometers southwest of the port of Los Angeles. But they did say that the SpaceX is planning to shift the primary landing site to the Atlantic Ocean off the coast of Cape Canaveral for Crew Dragon flights. So that's kind of interesting. They are, looks like for the Crew Dragon, they are going to move that to the Atlantic Ocean, over to the East Coast. So, so yeah, I would expect this Dragon capsule that's returning, the cargo capsule that will be returning, likely Pacific Ocean, like all the other cargo Dragon flights have been in the past. So, so yeah, we're coming here. Let's turn the volume up here. I don't think there's anything to listen to yet. Just white noise. We'll keep it down a little bit low, but we're listening in here now. We're waiting for, we're not going to go all the way to blowdown.
Centaur has completed the D-spin and now has gone to 4S settling in preparation for the start sequence. Tank pressures are being increased as well.
Yeah, so we've got about, I don't know, another 15 minutes or so here for the broadcast, because we'll have the second engine start up. That's only going to last for about 5 or 6 minutes. Then we'll have separation, which is about 8 or 9 minutes after the second cutoff. And then we'll have our CubeSat separations, which are about a minute after cutoff, or after InSight separation.
We have fuel pre-start.
So here we go. Yeah, looks like we're getting ready to start up here.
Box pre-start. Second burn is scheduled for 323 seconds in duration.
3:23. So what's that? 5 minutes 23 seconds. Is that right? Uh-oh, what happened? There it goes. Their feed died again. That's on their end, not on mine.
Ignition and full thrust on the RL-10.
There we go. There's our ignition of the Centaur, the upper stage Centaur engine.
We had ignition of the second stage at 1 minute 19 seconds into flight.
Vehicle body rates look very good for start transient.
You say 1 minute and 19 seconds into flight?
Being increased.
We're well past 1 minute and 19 seconds, assuming you meant 1 hour and 19 minutes into flight.
Centaur PU is controlling oxidizer rich. Chamber pressure, LOX pump discharge, fuel venturi all look good for the set MR.
It's too bad they don't have
CS line temperature.
Nice onboard cameras like SpaceX does. Although they probably need NOAA permission for that after NOAA gave SpaceX a hard time about their cameras. So,
RCS thermal conditioning firings underway. Signatures look good.
So yeah, everything's looking good. You can see that apogee.
After completing the second burn,
look at it climb way out there.
9-minute coast phase, at which time we'll separate the InSight spacecraft.
Apogee's going to climb for a while. We got 323 seconds, so just over 5 minutes of burn here.
Engine performance continues to look very good. Body rates are stable. View is working its way up. A nominal mixture ratio.
So we're in good shape. And I don't know, I guess they had mentioned it about the CubeSats. So the InSight is at the top there, obviously on the right-hand side, in the fairing, the nose cone. You know, that got the first-class treatment, as the guy mentioned in the interview there. And the CubeSats are riding in steerage, like he said, in the aft bulkhead carrier, right by the engine bell. So at the animation, there's a little
engine performance still looks very good.
A little yellow
CS line
box.
Are good.
Oh, will you see my mouse if I do this? Oh yeah, you can see
pressures
my mouse.
are stable.
Right here.
Storage bottles look good.
These are the CubeSats
Batteries
here.
are as well.
Which is, I mean, I guess it's not crazy unusual, but
at 1.27 Gs.
Does seem kind of strange that the CubeSats had to ride way in the back like that. Like they couldn't find any way of putting the CubeSats up with the payload fairing. I don't know. I don't know how that gets decided. This burnt. We've almost made one complete lap around Earth since we've been watching. So this is up above northeast Russia right now.
RL-10 chamber pressures, LOX pump discharge, and fuel venturi all look very good. MR controlling right at nominal.
Yeah, so we're at we're about an hour and 22 minutes into flight here, and so we're waiting for cutoff. It's going to be an hour and 24 minutes. So we're looking at, well, you can't see it, it's behind my camera view, but there's a little second. They don't have like an actual legit clock, but there is a second ticker. That's at 4,979 seconds. I gotta try to convert that down to hours and minutes so I can
all
reference
systems
it.
Continue to look very good throughout the burn.
We should be about, I believe we're about 45 seconds.
1 minute remains.
He says 1 minute. I was gonna say 45 seconds remains until we get MECO 2, which is the last cutoff of that upper Centaur engine. But yeah, look at that apogee now. We were at 100 nautical miles, and now apogee's it's just racing up 40,000 nautical miles.
At nominal. Engine response.
50,000 nautical miles. 60,000, getting faster. 70,000 nautical miles. 80,000, look at it climb. 90, 100,000, 110, 120, 130, 140. We're flying now. 200,000 nautical miles. 300,000 nautical miles. We're up to 1,000,000. Look at it climb. It's gone now. Well, they had to take down the stats.
Coming up on Miko momentarily.
So that's Earth escape there, presumably.
4 minutes, 17 seconds into flight.
That apogee number
approaching
just flies.
second stage, engine cutting off.
Shutdown looks good. We've gone to 4S settling.
And confirmation of main engine cutoff 2.
So there's our cutoff.
We now begin a 9-minute coast phase before spacecraft separation.
Centaur has begun to reorient to the spacecraft separation attitude.
So there we go. So the Centaur engine, or Centaur, that is, its job is done. So now all we have to do at this point, we got to do in-sight separation. That's going to happen in about 9 minutes, and then 1 minute after that, we should separate the CubeSats. They'll do one at a time. Do one.
As I stated earlier, there's a 9-minute coast between the Miko 2 and the in-sight spacecraft separation. Centaur's still reorienting the spacecraft separation attitude at this point.
Yeah, so the spacecraft, the vehicle is going to spin around here till we get insight in the right attitude. Then we'll do the separation, give it a little kick off the top of the second stage there.
Centaur has begun 50% 4S duty cycle settling.
Then it'll spin. I think they said 4 degrees. It's going to spin, kick off the first CubeSat, Marco A. Then it's going to spin another 180 degrees from that, kick off the second Marco B CubeSat, and then there will be 3 separate spacecraft traveling to Mars on their own paths. I mean, they're roughly the same, but they are completely separate. They're not connected during their transit to Mars. Gregorius just hit NAN, nautical miles, not a number. Yeah, the automatic telemetry calculator.
We now have the Miko 2 plus 3 second open.
Not able to calculate
Once
it any
again,
further.
the pre-flight predictions compared to actual show a very good agreement and an excellent orbit achieved at Miko 2.
So yeah, now we just got a little bit of time to wait. So in case you're just joining in, we just got a couple more minutes here before we get spacecraft separation. But while we're waiting, what is packed inside? So we're looking at the heat shield there. That's the orange bit there. This is kind of oriented on the spacecraft like backwards of what you would think if you're used to like the Apollo era, or even like watching the Dragon capsules or things like this. This capsule is actually upside down, so it's heat shield first. And the cover of the capsule is facing the second stage. Or the cover,
has
the cover of the
completed its
capsule.
turn to the spacecraft separation attitude.
I missed it, but do we know if the Mars rovers are still moving and broadcasting? Yeah, I think they're still broadcasting. I believe we got one that's still moving. I don't think the other is still moving at this point. I don't remember
Centaur
which is
has
which.
begun to ramp from a 50% duty cycle to a 10% duty cycle. Signatures look good.
But yeah, this guy will not be. This is not.
Mission Director Center. We're in about a 9-minute coast phase.
It's 9-minute coast phase. I'm going to turn that down a little bit. So this is not a mover. This is a stationary lander here. We're going to mute them for a second. So this is not a moving spacecraft here. This is going to be stationary once it actually lands on Mars. It's got the seismometer and the hammer probe that's going to drill down and get temperature readings. So this guy's not going to move around at all. Here's another animation look of it here as well. But right now we are in we're in good shape here. We're up past, we're through number 8. We're waiting on number 9. We're going to watch 9, 10, and 11, and then we'll end the broadcast at that point. 12 and 13, those are the end of mission. You know, obviously ULA's got to do those for their end before they get to end of mission, but we're not going to watch that. That's not exciting. But we're going to watch the Insight separation. We'll watch Marco A, Marco B separation. It doesn't sound like they have any cameras on board, which is unfortunate. We're just watching the animation. But I guess we're just going to wait and see if there's a success, which is a bummer. I was hoping they were going to have some cameras. Maybe they'll still have a camera of Insight separation. That would be nice to see. We're still kind of holding out, hoping that they have a camera of that separation happening, like SpaceX would have on their launches. But yeah, that's what we're waiting on to see. See what happens there. And let's see. I was going to say something else. We were talking about something before we switched to that, but I don't remember now. Can't remember what we were talking about before that. Let's see. Yeah, no. Somebody said. Somebody sent me a message on Twitter. Said, does the first stage of the Atlas land like SpaceX? No, the first stage of the Atlas does not land. It is expended. This is not a reusable rocket, but it gets the job done. It's very reliable. It's, you know, the Atlas V platform has been very reliable. I think ULA is, you know, they're looking to get into the reusability arena there, but they're not quite at that point yet. So this is not reusable, but powerful, gets the job done. And actually, this flight didn't even really need to be that powerful because, like we had said, it was a 401 configuration, which is the smallest configuration of the Atlas V rocket. So this is not the Maven spacecraft. Just ignore the Maven spacecraft. It's the only graphic I could find. It was a 4-meter payload fairing, 0 solid rocket boosters. I mean, this guy can put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 solid rocket. I mean, you could get a bunch of solid rocket boosters on there. I don't think I've seen more than 5. I don't know if it supports more than 5, but you can definitely get at least 5 on there. I don't know how many it supports total, but you can definitely get at least 5 solid rocket boosters on here, and that is powerful right there. If you put 5 solid rocket boosters on there, plus the RD-180 engine at the bottom, you can also. So this configuration is 401, has 4-meter payload fairing, 0 solid rocket boosters, and 1 Centaur upper stage engine. You can get, at least the max that I've seen, would be a 552 configuration. I don't know if it supports more than 5 solid rocket boosters, but you could have a 5-meter payload fairing, 5 solid rocket boosters, and 2 Centaur upper stage engines would be kind of the max configuration there. So
right now I feel a little bit drained because it's been so exciting all day long. It's the anticipation.
Listening in, we should be coming up on separation soon here
from the spacecraft about 4 hours before launch, and suddenly, you know, this beautiful rocket with Insight standing on top was exposed and lit up in the night sky, and that was quite a moment. Then we came back here, and the countdown comes down, and as you get closer and closer to the liftoff, you know, there's more and more activity, more and more things are happening, and you know, valves are closing and tanks are pressurizing, and then you get down to zero. The thing goes off, and it's just so exciting, so intensely exciting. And now we're waiting to sort of finish our launch. We're not actually done with launch until we separate from the Centaur.
And separation coming up here very shortly. So we can hold for that.
Yeah, okay. Separation coming up shortly. Hey, Deborah Shea, thanks for the tip on YouTube.
And we have indication of spacecraft separation.
Oh, there we go. We just got an indication.
Spacecraft separation.
No cameras
behind us in the room.
I was hoping they were going to show us
a lot of excited people.
Now I have a short coast of approximately 34 seconds.
No comment on that.
You're looking at NASA launch manager Tim Dunn.
This will be the first pair of CubeSats to go to deep space. They
Let's
carry
get the CubeSats
radio,
out, and then I'll get a comment
antenna,
here.
and propulsion system.
Hey Jill, thanks for hanging out.
Data
Jill's
relay
watching, she's taking off.
to the Earth.
Appreciate you
from the
hanging out,
entry,
Jill.
descent,
Thanks.
and landing phase of the InSight mission.
And just moments away from the
there we
first
go.
two
There's one-
CubeSats to deploy.
And we
CubeSat.
have the first Marco A spacecraft separation.
Then it should spin 180 degrees, so you can kind of tell that by the watching the stars in the
Centaur is
background.
now spinning up. First half, the 180-degree turn.
We should get the
Centaur has completed the turn.
second CubeSat.
Now in an attitude hold for spacecraft separation. And we have indication of Marco B being deployed.
There it goes.
And the second of two CubeSats has been deployed.
There we go. All right, everybody's pretty excited. Seems like we got a successful...
Centaur has begun the custom CCAM turn.
Yeah, so now at this point, they are... they're pretty much...
And a lot of handshaking going on in Atlas Launch Control.
Yeah, we'll turn this down here.
As the InSight spacecraft is separated, along with the two Marco CubeSat also bound.
Yeah, all right. So, yeah, a lot of handshaking going on. Everybody's happy. Successful launch today. InSight is on her way to Mars. So look out for that landing. That'll be coming November 26th. That's Cyber Monday here in the United States. Big shopping day. But, yeah, InSight will be landing November 26th is when we're getting to Mars. This is the JPL, Jet Propulsion Laboratory here. That they're looking at. So these will be the mission managers for InSight. Yep. Oh.
Excellent orbit.
Sorry, I'm listening, but I forgot to turn the volume on for you guys. Yeah, it looks like everybody's clearing out there now.
With that, this completes the plus count commentary for the AV-78 InSight mission.
Well, there they go. So they're going to complete their commentary there. Oops, didn't mean to pause it. So there we go. Successful launch for InSight. We're going to Mars. We're going to land this thing hopefully successfully. I appreciate everybody hanging. Oh, the one thing I was going to comment on that I started laughing about was the guy commenting on the video. He's like, oh, a lot of excitement in the room, and in the background you hear like one person clapping. Like, it's like, I was like, wow, that sounds like a lot of excitement. I mean, I'm sure there is a lot of excitement. It was just funny the way it came off on the broadcast, but so yeah, there we go. Oh man, it was an early morning, but we made it. We're successful. InSight is on its way to Mars. I gotta go get me some more launch coffee. Hashtag launch coffee. Hashtag Mars coffee. I don't know, what do we want to call it? Space lobster coffee. I gotta get some more because it's been a while since I had my last cup. We were up early getting ready for this and getting ready for the broadcast. But thanks everybody for joining along. This was a lot of fun. I was hoping for some better camera views of the actual separation, but we didn't get it, unfortunately. But we did get a successful launch, so that was fun. We got to see some sneak peek of our balloon footage, which I'll be working on here in the next couple days. Try to get some footage out to you from our last flight. And then look out for the next flight of ours coming up here somewhere between like May 12th to May 21st, somewhere in that range. We'll be doing our next flight. Gregorius, hashtag MarsBucks. There we go. Go to MarsBucks and get some coffee. Yeah, so look out for our next flight coming up soon. I think we've got the issues resolved with our micro tracker here. We're going to be doing some testing with that. in the next couple days to get that sorted out. Our main computer worked perfectly on last flight, so that was awesome. I'm glad that that worked out perfectly for our flights. And as I mentioned before, if you're really feeling generous, we are a 501c3 nonprofit charitable education organization. So if you're feeling charitable this morning, you can head to overlookhorizon.com/donate and make a tax-deductible donation. It's 100% tax-deductible in the United States if you make a donation. So you can certainly do that if you're feeling generous, but also even if you're not into the donating area, make sure you subscribe to the channel, follow us on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, all you know how to do it all. Particularly because we're going to be giving away, like I mentioned before, we got some mission patches from Tess that we're going to be giving away. We got some stickers from Tess we're going to be giving away. We got some other stickers from Tess that we're going to be giving away, and we even got a couple. We got a couple of pins from Tess that we'll be giving. Can you see those little Tess pins that we'll be giving away as well? And plus, we've also got some Overlook Horizon stickers that we'll be giving away. So we got a lot of giveaways coming up over the next couple of days and weeks. Particularly, we've got we want to do a giveaway in our next broadcast coming up for SpaceX, which right now is scheduled for Monday. SpaceX is launching the Bangabandhu satellite on Monday for Bangladesh. So right now scheduled for Monday at 4 o'clock is the launch time. We'll be live Monday at 3:30. That's Eastern time. That is, what is that, 1930 UTC. So 3:30 p.m. Eastern time. We'll be live on Monday to do the SpaceX Bangabandhu satellite launch, which is a communications satellite for Bangladesh. First communication satellite for Bangladesh, I believe. That's launching from Cape Canaveral using the first Block 5 booster for SpaceX. Super exciting for Block 5. So that is coming up Monday. So make sure you come hang out on Monday during the broadcast, because somebody's gonna get some test swag. So we're gonna give those away at the next broadcast on Monday. So yeah, did I miss anything? I think I covered just about everything. Oh, Deborah said, don't forget about your hashtag Space Lobster t-shirts. Yeah, we got some, we got all kinds of swag going on here. But yeah, all t-shirt purchases and all that kind of stuff, they help support our program, help fund our weather balloon launches, so we can do more of those and increase the participation and the education and all that kind of stuff that we're focusing on. So yeah, don't forget about that. And we actually even got a brand new t-shirt, which I don't know if I have a, here, we can show it up on the screen here if you give me 1 second. But we do have a brand new t-shirt that we just launched on, posted it on Twitter just the other day, and it's our new, here, let me get it up on the screen here. Take me just a second, throw it up here. Ba-da-da. Here it is. Just throw it over here off to the side. There it is, our new Where's Shrimpy t-shirts. So Shrimpy was our, that was our Overlook Horizon 10 flight that we lost because of the antenna breaking off, which also happened on Overlook Horizon 11, but luckily the micro payload was a secondary one. But we're still searching for Shrimpy. Shrimpy is out there somewhere. We got to get the word out. We got to find Shrimpy. So if you want to get one of these Where's Shrimpy t-shirts, head over to overlookhorizon.com/shirts. I think there's a link in the description below if you're watching on YouTube. So there it is. That's what's happening. That's what happened today, I guess. And we're going to call it a day there. Like I said, I appreciate everybody for hanging out and watching along with us. Successful launch today. Join us Monday for the next SpaceX Bangabandhu flight. I just like saying Bangabandhu. That's coming up on Monday. But I see Constantina. See you soon. Deborah, see you Monday. Yuval, thanks from Israel. Thanks everybody for hanging out. I don't want to miss the Facebook people. Jill, thanks for hanging out. Mark, thanks for hanging out. I'm sure there's other people that I'm missing here. Ashwin, you made lobster merch. Of course we made lobster merch. We're gonna exploit this to the best we can. As a non-profit, we're exploiting every angle to fund our program. Not only do we have lobster merch, we got lobster. This is gonna fly. We got the lobster gonna fly. We got our lobster grabber. We got lobster everything. It's a lobster fest, right? It fits right in with the space lobster theme. All right, that's it. I'm headed out. I'm going to get myself some space lobster coffee. Going to Mars Bucks, Mars coffee, launch coffee, whatever you want to call it. I gotta get some coffee one way or another. So, all right, thanks everybody for hanging out. This was fun. I always appreciate it. I love seeing everybody in the comments here, and we will do this again on Monday. So thanks again for watching, and we'll talk to you guys soon. All right, have a good rest of the day. See you guys. Oh, maybe.